Welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin. I'm all in on Bitcoin, generational wealth for Bitcoin, but of course not cryptocurrencies right now. Make sure you've smashed that like button up to a new all-time high. Thank you so much for your support during this big corrective downtrend bear market. And of course, eventually we'll get to some sort of sideways quiet time in the market where a lot of people who are currently here will leave and forget about the market. It is absolutely guaranteed, like night is day. So if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you have smashed the subscribe button as well and the bell notification icon so you can be updated with the content that I'm producing here on the channel almost every single day of this bull market and bear market, unless of course I'm sick or traveling. So yesterday we got into a massive live stream on the channel with what was going on in Bitcoin and crypto as the market was crashing. And of course, we got all the way down to $20,800. Now, of course, there is a ton of fear in the market right now. Markets are led by fear and then they're led by greed. So it's the same thing that happened at the peaks of the first stage of the crypto Bitcoin bull market, which peaked out in April and May. So if you weren't there at that time and you came in late, you came in November, pretty much at the peak of all of the markets, and now you find yourself 50, 60, 80% down. A lesson you can learn from this is understanding the extreme of the emotion, because the markets are all made up of human emotion, regardless of if there are robots, there are bots, there are whatever's trading in the market. Eventually, it all falls back into a human. Human has had to program anything that is in the market right now. So markets are entirely made up of human emotion. And that's all we are doing with the chart, is looking at the human emotion here. So using what we have felt and seen and experienced right now, flip it on its head in terms of greed and just understand and try to picture what it was like back in April and May of the bull market. That is going to help you moving forward. Of course, right now we are looking at very low prices. Everything is depressed. People want to run away from the market crying because their portfolios are down. But of course, this is what it was like during 2018 and 2019, even though we did go on this pretty decent run, which doesn't look decent on the chart at the moment. But if I throw it on a log, you can see that the market went up almost 3 times. It went from 4K all the way up to 14K, so over 3 times. And the greed and excitement from that point was very reminiscent of what happened in May and April of 2021. So it's always just, we're always just ranging between the emotions from extreme greed to extreme fear. And that's what we're currently in right now. And so when we get to these extreme fear points, eventually all the sellers are gone, and then the smart money, the buyers, continue to come into the market and continue to buying up. And through 2018, of course, we never reached the final low until late 2018, call it early 2019, around $3,000 for Bitcoin. This time, the price kept ranging between about 6K and it got up to about 7, 8K. Of course, there were some peaks out here at 10K, but it did range a lot between $6,000 and sort of $8,000. And it got really, really quiet and then eventually broke down into that final low. And so even though you were buying, well, I mean, I remember I was buying a lot through 6K, it still fell another 50% from that point. But this is cryptocurrency and there are going to be very, very, very wild fluctuations between lows and highs. So we have to expect bigger ranges in terms of percentage gains. So gains up and then losses to the downside compared to something like real estate. So in terms of buying crypto, it was a fantastic time. $6,000, you can look back on it now and you're still up 3.5 times with today's current price. But of course, yes, there were lots of lower prices to be had. So I want to look at that in today's video and structuring yourself to be able to take advantage of lower prices, even though, like we have been doing on the channel publicly, talking about it in terms of a fear and greed plan, buying Bitcoin at some of the major extreme panic moments in the market and not the extreme greed moments in the market. It's really, really simple when you think about it like that, but the emotions always screw up 99% of people, which is why you always see people lose, or the majority of people lose, and then there's only ever a few winners because they don't follow these sorts of plans. So we just want to avoid all of the extreme greed and even neutral feelings within a downtrend. If you can do that, you're probably going to be better off with a good average price over the long run, and then just have a longer term view. Something like 2 to 5 years from now is something that I've always been looking at, especially with our 18.6 year cycle. I won't get too much into that. There are plenty of videos on my channel where I talk about that cycle, but looking at a major peak in all world markets coming in a few years' time. Yes, people think that the world is over right now because they're just sort of fully invested in crypto, and of course the stock markets are down, but it's nothing different to what has happened in the past, especially throughout the 18.6 year cycle. And so I want to bring that up, but I just want to say a quick shout out to the video sponsor, which is Bybit, and there is the World Series of Trading coming up. So if you want to join that, join our squad, Crypto Hobos, check out the link in the video description down below and join us over there for the start of the competition. If you don't want to trade, it is for more experienced traders, so beginners probably not the best thing, but there is also spot trading on Bybit, and you can get up to $4,100 of sign up bonuses if you use the link down below and follow the deposit requirements over there as well. So they're the links down there. Check that out. Looking at the S&P and what has happened in the past, the mid-cycle slowdown. So that's what we have currently experienced. We've gone through that with the COVID crash, and we're still kind of within that range, even though we have shot up. We are now very heavily down from those peaks. But if we look at the mid-cycle in the last cycle, I'm just going to grab my tool here. This is the mid-cycle that happened in the previous cycle before the market then ran up from 2003 up to 2007. Yes, we did get a big dump, but remember, that was the best time to be buying again for this next absolutely mega bull run. So I know I'm talking about stocks, but this is very relevant to cryptocurrencies, because I think this time, with so many people being in the market, without the stock market, without the bullish sentiment coming back to all of the markets, then we're probably going to see further declines for cryptocurrency. I don't think cryptocurrency is going to be completely decoupled from any of the traditional markets because it is such a high risk asset. So what I'm talking about here is we want to see these markets start to turn, and then that sort of bullishness is going to flow through into Bitcoin as well. So looking back at the previous cycle, this is the second half of the cycle. The peak for this cycle was the .com bubble. So that you can see it's around 2000. There's the peak, and then the market declined a lot. Next stage, the market ran up a hell of a lot too, came back to that and got us a nice double top, crash, and on we go. Look at the cycle before that. So these are around those 18.6 years. They basically run from about 17 to 23 years, with an average being 18.6. Looking at the previous cycle, you can see from the early 70s, ran up to a peak in the late 80s, massive crash, and then of course on we go again for the next cycle. And so within that cycle, the mid-cycle, you can see the market has also declined very steadily and quite dramatically. So a long, slow grind down from the peaks. Let's come to these lows. 28%, pretty solid back in the day. And it lasted from the late 80s, late 1980 to late 1982. There was a couple of years of downtrend within that period. Before then, the market just had enough and then took off to that next peak. So I think that's what we're currently in now. We've seen one decline in 2020. We're seeing another decline in 2022. And eventually this will basically bounce back, probably go on a bit more of a consolidation. And then we take off for these last couple of years into the cycle. So with that in mind, I think Bitcoin is going to follow suit in that regard too. But looking at Bitcoin in terms of purchasing, if we know this now, and we believe this to be our thesis and our opinion that the market will go up, of course you have to believe that. Otherwise, why are you still buying? You'd still want to be seeing massive losses for everyone, and 90% down on world markets, which I don't think is going to happen just yet, or maybe ever. Looking at Bitcoin now, I've got a couple of price ranges here to look at, and they are approximately 20K. You can see the previous peaks that we had at about 16K, and then also these peaks at about 12K. And looking at our fear and greed plan, this is something that we have looked at since May of 2021. But let's just take the purchases of 2022, because a lot of people did get in late in November, and this only showed up signals to buy based on the fear and greed plan being at 15 or under. And this has been basically 15 or under for the entire month of May and June, with the odd day that wasn't a buy signal. If we take it back a year, you can see that we had a lot in this zone. We're now at some extreme points, and then we had a couple in January as well. So that's how we got to all of these purchases. That gives us an average price of about $30,000 for the entirety of 2022. Now you say, well, if I came in late, I should have just bought now and you're doing much better off. Of course, but it's all in hindsight, remember. And a lot of people say, well, you can't do this at the time. It's too difficult to understand or to know. That's why you set out plans, and that's why we have risk management with these plans as well. We manage our money and we manage our risk. Now, dollar cost averaging can work. It can work. You can just keep it very simple and buy the same amount every single time a buy signal comes up. If you don't have $1,000 every time, $100, $10, whatever suits your portfolio. I've just used a round number here, $1,000. So if it's only 100 for you, great. But you can improve on that so much more. And I think some people forget that, especially when I'm showing this plan on the channel. They miss videos, they miss information, and they sort of come to their own conclusion about what we're trying to do here. And they just say that's how you've done it all along. Not correct, but it is a good start to a plan. And the members of our Investor Accelerator, link is in the video description as well if you want to join us over there. Our premium and our light members over there are seeing what I'm buying, when I'm buying, how I'm buying, and then how this is all flowing into my portfolio, how much I've bought in full dollars, how much cash I still have on the sideline. All of that is in the TI Lite and TI Premium. Links is in the video description if you want to join us over there. Plus you can learn about trading and of course GAN swings and everything else we do here. So one major thing that we can do to decrease the average price, which was now 30,600, and the average price for May and June being about 29,300. So one way to improve that average price is to have a pyramid dollar cost average plan. A lot of people will just buy an exact amount every single time that maybe they got a buy signal. I'm going to layer in at 35,000, 32,000, 30,000, 25,000, etc., etc. That's not a way that I like to do it with an exact amount. I do rather enjoy a pyramid. So I'm looking at a pyramid here. Remember, it's all crypto. It's all a Ponzi at the end of the day. We use a pyramid scheme here. Then we can ladder in bigger amounts as the market drops and lesser amounts at some higher prices. Now, where does this pyramid go? That's up to you. You're going to have to put some points on a chart and then either stick to it or improve it along the way in your journey. And so we could say, well, look, we had some buy signals in January. But go back across to here, you can see here's January. We had all these buy signals telling us to buy at 43K down to 36K. And I've also talked about selling on the channel as well, how you can sell out of this plan and start to reduce your average price. So that is also another way to do this. So at these high prices, 36 and 40s, which are pretty high, we could just say, well, how about we just buy $100 worth at these highs? And then as the market drops into some other zones, which we have predetermined based on what's happened in the past on the market, we say, all right, we'll buy 200 if it drops to this zone of the previous support levels of 28, 29K, all the way up to about 34K. All right, in this zone, we're going to buy $300 worth. If it drops to these levels of 20K down to 16K, let's buy $400 worth. And if it drops below 16 to down to about 12K, which is some previous support levels of the prior cycle, we'll say 500. And for any reason, if it goes below this level, we might just back the truck up and go in $1,000 a hit. We don't have to have that ready just yet because it is a long way down. But if you do want to have that, by all means, throw it in. And so in this way, if you are buying little bits at $100 here, a little bit at 200 at lower down and 300, then you've got a much better average price at a lot lower down on the market. The difficulty to this is you never know if the price is going to get that far down. So you have to be comfortable with how much you're purchasing at the higher prices, knowing full well that maybe the market never goes that low. So that is just the reality of investing and looking for those lower prices and knowing that it might not happen at all. And so if you can manage that risk with your money management on your investment, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other cryptos, then you're much better positioned moving forward into the next stage of the bull market. So you could throw this pyramid up anywhere in the previous cycle, be laddering in at all the different levels, and then of course the bull market takes off. So make sure you've got a sell plan as well. Now, I talked about just buying Bitcoin in this video and not cryptocurrencies just yet because of what we've seen in the past. I don't think it's time for cryptos yet, and we're going to have to wait for Bitcoin to go through something like we saw in the past, some sort of accumulation, some breakout of accumulation, and to give us some signals that the bull market is back on. And then for cryptos, I know a lot of people just want to try and buy all of the lows, but you're basically playing with a falling knife. And if you want to keep catching that falling knife, you might run out of money. Now, you will probably eventually catch the bottom, and you can clout about it all that you've caught the bottom of ADA or Solana or whatever crypto it is you want to get into, but at what cost? And I know the majority of people don't know what their average price is in terms of their investment. And so they can say that they bought the low, but at what cost? How many times did they buy on the way down to try and catch that low and then end up with an average price that is well and truly way above the price they bought at the low? So keep that in mind if you ever see any of that clout over Twitter or YouTube or articles, whatever it might be, because you just don't know what the average price is on the way down. As for me, I think these times are great times to be laddering into something like Bitcoin, because I think there's still plenty of time for cryptocurrencies. If you want to know more about this, check out the link in the video description. I left it at the top there for TIA Premium, TIA Lite. That's our groups, our members, and we do weekly group calls over there as well, top of the video description. And of course, if you want to get in on the World Series of Trading with Bybit, link is also in the video description. Check it out, and then also join us over on Crypto Hobos. We've got 43 traders in there so far, and it's only been open for the last couple of days. So check those out. I'll see you guys at the next video as well to go through some more critical information as we always do here on the channel. So make sure you liked and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys at the next one. Until then, have more fun to get more done.